Yo, what is going on, Breaker Nation? It is your boy Low. I'm back up in this thing. Uh, you guys already know the deal. Listen, head over to the website, uh, USFLnetwork.com. We've got all kinds of new stuff on there. If you haven't checked it out already, we did that recently. So it's revamped. It looks really cool. You should check it out. Also, on the bottom of the screen, I figured I might as well just say this to save a little bit of time. You can see it at the bottom of the screen throughout the entire video. Make sure you're following me. You see it Instagram and Twitter, both on there. So make sure you're following me to see all kinds of breaker news and thoughts and all kinds of different stuff. Okay. So, like, make sure you're there. Make sure you're following the network everywhere. We always post stuff, giveaways. Um, we did power rankings the other day, which we had the breakers at 4, and that was voted on by a lot of different people. So people are high on us, man. Don't have to live up. Anyway, yeah. So just make sure you're following the network everywhere. Make sure you're following me everywhere, and let's get straight into it.
Cuts it back 5, touchdown Breakers.
All right, Breaker Nation. So for today's video, I'm going to do like a free agency recap, and I'm going to recap all the guys we've signed and whatnot. But before I get into that, I do want to quickly talk about um, a little bit of news. So for those of you that don't know, our defensive coordinator is John D. Tenuta. John Tenuta. I don't know why I said D. Listen, long day. John Tenuta, okay, is our defensive coordinator. John has a son, Zach Tenuta, who has coached at various different places, and he will be joining the Breakers staff as a linebackers coach. So Zach is very excited for that. He's very excited to be coaching alongside his dad, which I think is really cool. It's something that this league brings us, is things like that. Guys being able to coach alongside their father. I mean, that's awesome, right? That's awesome. Anytime that can happen, that's awesome. It also kind of sets up a matchup for week 1. So the Maulers defense is coached by Jaron Horton, but also the head coach, Ray Horton, who is Jaron Horton's dad, is a defensive-minded coach. So there's a father-son duo on the Maulers defensive side, and then there's a father-son duo on the Breakers defensive side, coaching-wise. So I think that's super cool. That's something that hopefully the league kind of talks about uh, headed into week 1, because, I mean, that's cool. How often do you see that in professional sports? Like a father-son coaching duo up against another father-son coaching duo. It's rare territory. But he's going to take over a really good group. I mean, you guys already know this. Jared Fernandez was all USFL last year, and Vontae Diggs was also really good. Like, if there was a second all USFL team, I think that there was a possibility that Vontae could have been on that team. He was really good. Had that pick 6 in the first game. That was the first touchdown for the Breakers of the season. So, I mean, it's a good group, and they've also signed some guys, which I'll get into in a little bit. But Zach's got a really talented group, and I think he's going to have a blast coaching that group. So now getting into the meat and potatoes, this of why we're really here. I've got on a couple pieces of paper here. I've got a list of all the guys that we've signed and just a little bit about them and things like that. And now I've talked about most of these guys, so it'll be a little bit of a refresh for some of you, but just in case. So starting out on offense, we've signed 3 quarterbacks this offseason. So Bethel-Thompson, we talked about him a little bit recently. He was in the CFL. He's been all around the NFL, super talented, one of the best CFL quarterbacks in the last couple of years, and we got him to come sign with us, so that's obviously really great. Akil Glass Alabama A&M quarterback. I mean, this guy did all kinds of wonderful things in the SWAC conference, set all kinds of records, and won all kinds of accolades and awards and everything. I mean, he did a lot at Alabama A&M, so he's a super talented quarterback, and it's going to be hard to keep him off the field. And another guy, Davis Cheek from Elon, he's a guy that I really like as well. I've had him on my show. He had a couple major injuries, but when he was healthy, he played really well. And if you just watch him play, you can see that he's good. And I'm really excited about this quarterback room. These three guys that we've signed, they're all super talented. I trust any one of these guys to get us to the playoffs and have us competing for a championship. So I'm really excited. For running backs, we've got Wes Hills from Delaware. He's kind of a bigger running back. He's been in the NFL a lot with the Lions. So you lose out on Jordan Ellis. You bring in a guy like Wes Hills to maybe be your next Thunder, if you will. Last year we kind of had a Thunder Lightning kind of thing going on. It's going to be hard to replace Jordan Ellis, but Wes Hills being a bigger running back, he might be able to pick up some of that load that's being left. Peter Guerrero from Monmouth. Also, he was on the Stars last year just a little bit. He's super fast, and this offense is going to be fast. So getting speed is very important. Obviously, they saw some speed in this guy. They really like it. So they signed him. So it's a guy that I'm excited to see. I think he was teammates with our punter, Matt White, at Monmouth. So that's also cool. I'm not entirely sure, but I'm pretty sure they were teammates. So that's cool. So, yeah, we signed 2 running backs. Wide receiver, we signed a good amount of wide receivers. So firstly, Eli Stove from Auburn. Again, speed, fast. I like this guy a lot. He's got return ability. You give this guy a jet sweep, he can take it. You give this guy a screen, he can take it. And another SEC guy as well, Reggie Davis from Georgia. Again, speed, fast. A lot of the same things as Eli Stove. He's got return ability. He's got, give him a jet sweep and he could take it to the house. Give him a screen, he could take it to the house. There's a lot that this guy can do. And speed. You want speed, and this offense is going to need speed, so I'm glad that we've got some. Richard Sindani from the CFL. Also, he's from Canada, so this is going to be probably different for him. He knows Coach TJ Vernieri. They were together in the CFL and the Stampeders, so that's kind of that connection right there. That's good to have. Obviously, he's super excited. Also, Hergy Mayala, I hope I'm saying that right, from UConn. He played with Coach Vernieri at UConn, and then also was coached by Coach Vernieri in the CFL on Calgary. So Richard Sindini and Hergy Mayala were teammates together in the CFL, and they were both coached by TJ Vernieri. So that's pretty cool. It's a familiarity thing. It's, so there's a lot that goes into that. And Coach TJ is very excited about both of these guys. So, it's got me excited too. So that was 4 wide receivers that we had signed. Also, we signed a tight end, Sage Surratt from Wake Forest. His brother's in the NFL and the Vikings. So, Skull, I had to throw that out there. But he was also on the Stallions a little bit last year. So that's a guy that's familiar with the league. He's familiar with how it works and things of that nature. And, we need tight end. We lost Sal, Big Sal. We lost Sal to the dark side, quote unquote. And then, EJ Bibbs is a little bit older, not entirely sure if he's wanting to play another year or not. I'm not entirely sure. And then Justin Johnson had said that he was retired, but he's still listed on the Breakers roster, so I'm not entirely sure what's going on with that one. So, yeah, getting a tight end is good. It's very good. Moving to the offensive line, I didn't break them up by tackle, guard, center. just because a lot of these guys are probably going to move around and things of that nature. It just kind of happens with offensive linemen. They get shifted and moved a lot. So I went in order of just when they were signed. So firstly, Kenny Thomas. Now these first two, I'll touch on why it's a little confusing. But Kenny Thomas from Louisville, and then Taylor Romer from San Diego State University. So we signed both of them, but they're not on our roster. They're not listed on our roster. So that's a little bit confusing, but I haven't heard anything that we released them or anything like that. So, I'm not entirely sure what's going on there. But to the best of my knowledge, they're both going to be playing. So Kenny Thomas, like I said, from Louisville, and Taylor Romer from SDSU. So then we've got Celesi Uatafe. I hope I said that right. Uatafe from Utah. Kirk Kelly from Troy. Kirk Kelly is from Louisiana, and he's really excited to play for the hometown team. I always love it when we can make that happen, when we can get guys that are from the state of Louisiana. And it's a pro football team. So I understand that it's not like LSU where you want to keep a bunch of guys in state. I know it's different, and I understand that. But whenever you can sign a Louisiana guy and it fits, I love it, and I'm beyond happy for it. So I'm really excited for that one. Clayton Legault from Merrimack College. The next one is the only guy that I gave a position next to. Lo Falamaka from Utah. So Jared Thomas was all USFL center for us, and he joined the dark side. I'm sorry. I love saying that. I think it's funny. Whatever. Anyways, so Jared Thomas is not here. So obviously there is a hole, there's a need at center. Well, Falamaka, if you didn't see it, my graphic for him being signed had said that he was, well, not said. It showed a picture of him snapping a football. Okay, so clearly this guy has center experience in college, and I think, if you connect the dots, you do the math, there's a strong possibility that that guy ends up getting reps at center and could ultimately be our starting center come day one. So we'll see what goes with that. And then lastly, Marcus Tatum from UCF. I think that guy's more than likely to be a tackle, but again, I didn't really put anything next to these guys just because I'm not entirely sure. Hold on. So in total, 7 offensive linemen. That's a lot. And I'll get more into that when I do like a training camp preview type thing. But that's a lot. That's a lot of offensive linemen. I mean, only 5 of them see the field. You know what I mean? So to sign 7 of them on top of what we already had there, clearly they've got what they want in mind there. We pretty much revamped most of the offense, which kind of makes sense when you've got an offensive-minded coach coming in who's not really affiliated with the prior staff. They probably have different philosophies and things like that, and different guys that they like, different relationships that they've built, just things of that nature. So, it's understandable. So far, offensively, now this could all change, right? Like, I think we're hovering around that 58 number for the Breakers roster, but again, I'm not entirely sure. So they could always cut a veteran and sign a new guy. You know how it goes. But for the most part, I think this is mostly our roster. Okay, so 17 offensive free agents were signed. Like I said, that's an overhaul. That's a lot of new faces, a completely new quarterback room, a lot of new wide receiver faces. We could see an entirely new offensive line week 1. Not entirely sure, but you never know. Now we move to the defensive side of the ball. So Sam Wright, defensive end. I'm going to start with edge rushers and kind of work my way backwards, if you catch my drift. Sam Wright from Princeton, cool dude, really smart. Obviously, if you go to Princeton, which most of these guys are really smart, okay? But when you're talking about an Ivy League, it's a little different, of course. So Sam Wright, smart. I liked his tape, fast edge rusher. Justice Reed from Virginia Tech, again, a bigger, from what I could tell, he's kind of a bigger framed guy. Jordan Brailford from Oklahoma State. That one a little bit confusing for me. So from everything that I could see, he's an edge rusher, rush the passer, hand in the dirt, all that good stuff. But they have him listed as a linebacker on the Breakers roster, which last year with Nigel Chavis, we saw that he was an edge rusher that got moved to inside linebacker. So it could happen, but for now I'm going to keep him listed as an edge rusher because that's what I think ultimately he'll be doing. So that's 3 defensive ends / edge rushers, whatever you want to call it. I know a lot of people call it different things. And then we only signed 1 defensive tackle. Again, so far, things could change, but this is just as of right now. We've only signed 1 defensive tackle. That would be Chris Richardson from UTEP. So, yeah, that's 4 players on the defensive front. And then at linebacker, Zacoby McClain from Auburn. This dude is a beast, and it's going to be hard to keep him off the field. Also, Shaheed Salmon from Samford. Shaheed played with Jared Fernandez in the CFL, and he's kind of that veteran linebacker guy, but he's got a lot of experience. He's played a lot, and there's a familiarity thing. We've got quite a bit of CFL guys on this roster and in the coaching staff as well. So the secondary also got a lot of fresh faces. So Josh Valentine Turner from Florida International. I did break up the defensive backs into corners and safeties just based off of either what they were listed as or just kind of looking at them and watching maybe a little bit of highlights and stuff. You can kind of tell who's going to play what. The thing is, similar to the offensive line, when you run a 4-2-5, you're going to have obviously 5 defensive backs on the field, and some will play boundary, some will play safety, some will play nickel, and there's going to be a lot of guys that are just versatile that can do any of it. So take it with a grain of salt, but I'm just going to keep them listed as corners and safeties just for now. So like I said, Josh Valentine Turner, FIU, I had him as a corner. Alex Thomas from Ferris State, he was also in XFL camp with Seattle, I believe. So, there's that. Bryce Watts from UMass. So that's 3 corners. And again, you lose Ike to the NFL. You lose Ike to the NFL, and then you lose Keith Washington to the CFL. So, it makes sense to bring in some fresh faces on the defensive side of the ball. You also lose Manny Patterson. He was released. So, again, you've got fresh faces coming in the defensive, in the secondary, excuse me. And then at safety, you've got these 2 are actually pretty cool, in my opinion. So you got Darian Rakestraw. He played at Colorado and then transferred to Tulane. So I think that's cool because that's a guy that's played college football in New Orleans for the Green Wave. And, there's a strong possibility that the Breakers will play at Yeoman, which is where Tulane plays. So, there's going to be a lot of connections there. So, yeah, I think that's pretty cool. And even though he's not originally from Louisiana, he's played college football in Louisiana. So that's cool. I personally think it's pretty cool. And then also Saquon Hampton from Rutgers, but he also played for the Saints. So, again, that's another guy who's maybe not necessarily from Louisiana, but he played for the Saints. A lot of you are Louisiana sports fans, so a lot of you, are probably Saints fans. So again, that's a guy that played for the Saints. That's pretty cool. And then today, well, to my knowledge today, well, let me back up from that. Recently, our most recent free agent signing, we'll go with that. Matt Coughlin, kicker from Michigan State. So, I'd kind of been waiting to do, the recap and training camp preview. I was kind of waiting for us to get a kicker because it'd be kind of weird to do this without a kicker. So it's just convenient that we got one now. Taylor Bertolet was really good for us last year, and it's going to be hard to replace a guy like that. But, Matt Coughlin, he did not miss an extra point in college. And I know that they're from, I think the 3-yard line or the 2-yard line, something like that. But still, there are guys that miss extra points in college, and he did not miss a single one, and he kicked a lot of them too. So that's cool. College long of 51 yards, which isn't the longest in the world, but that doesn't mean he can't make longer field goals. They don't always kick super long field goals in college. It just doesn't happen all the time. His field goal percentage wasn't the highest in the world, but a lot of college kickers, it just kind of happens. They miss kicks. The hashes in college are super duper wide. So, it's not uncommon for these dudes to miss kicks, whereas in the NFL, the hashes are lined up, I'm pretty sure, with the goalpost. So it's not like it's, just kicking a super wide field goal can get really tricky. So I don't hold it against these guys, these college kickers, entirely. So that defensively and then plus specialist is 12 total. So that's 29 total free agents. And yeah, I cheated. I looked off my notes today, but that's a lot of names, a lot of info to remember. So I figured I would just read it instead of, but a lot of free agents, you overhaul the offensive line, you overhaul your quarterback room, you bring in a decent amount of wide receivers, you bring in a decent amount of defensive backs, and, some linebacker depth, some depth in the defensive front. Now, you lost a couple of guys along the defensive front with obviously Bellamy and Sharif Miller and Tungamoa, and there's another one, Shaq Soto. So you lost some dogs on the defensive front, so they brought in some more guys. But overall, I'm really happy with a lot of these guys that we've signed. I'm really excited. I think there's a good mix of young guys and also veterans who've played, in the CFL. They've played maybe in the XFL in 2020, and guys that have experience playing professional football at this kind of level where it's spring football. It's a different setup than the NFL or college, but there's a lot of guys that are used to it. So I think it's okay to have a good mix of veterans. And also, looking back through a lot of these veterans, a lot of these guys that have, McLeod Bethel-Thompson, the Richardson Denny, Hergy Mayala, even you go look on defense, Shaheed Salmon, and, guys like that. There's a lot of veterans that you bring in on top of a lot of veterans that we had last year, like Jared Fernandez and Vontae Diggs, Johnny Dixon on offense. It just really reinforces what I had said before about Coach Flip, wanting to win a championship. They're putting veterans on the field, and they're also, getting young guys as well, but veterans that have played a lot of football, and they want to win a championship. So this free agency class should tell you a lot about how much they really want to win a championship. And that's exciting. right? And that's why when you look at a power ranking that was done, even though it was posted by the USFL network, there was other people that were involved with it, right? And, from other outlets. And the Breakers were fourth. And that's because of things like that. A lot of veteran guys that have been brought in, and, a lot of people are going to be high on us as a team, and they should be. This is a very good roster. And even though we lost some pieces, I think we did a really solid job bringing in replacements for those pieces. And I think there's a strong possibility that we even upgraded at quarterback. And Kyle Sloter was all USFL last year. Now, I understand he had the interception issues, but he also had a lot of injury issues on top of that. So, I mean, you kind of put those two things into perspective. But I think there's a strong possibility that we may have even upgraded at quarterback. And this is going to be very exciting. It's going to be very exciting. But, yeah, that's pretty much all I've got for you guys this week. Again, nothing too crazy. I just wanted to recap all the guys we've signed, go position by position, things of that nature. But so yeah, I will be doing a training camp preview sometime soon because, well, training camp starts fairly soon within the next couple of weeks. So be on the lookout for that. But until next time, Breaker Nation, make sure you're following me everywhere. I know I said it earlier, but I'm going to say it again. Make sure you're following me everywhere. Make sure you like this video. Make sure you share it to somebody, please. That would be awesome. That would make my day. And subscribe to the YouTube. Make sure you're following the network everywhere. All the good stuff. You know the deal. You know the deal. But until next time, Breaker Nation, it's your boy Lowe. I am signing off. Peace.